912 deaths. This represents the number of people who willingly sacrificed their lives under Jim Jones' leadership. The lengths to which the members of the Jonestown cult took to display their divine commitment to leader Jim Jones and the beliefs taught led to a tragic ending that had a major effect on society. This is just one example of many of when religious devotion has negative outcomes. Good morning, I'm Grayson Perry, and today I will be discussing the negative impacts of devotion to religious groups. As the introduction of new religious movements become more common throughout the 70s in Western America and the devotion becomes more intense, I pose the question, how does devotion to religious groups impact Western American social behavior and daily life from 1970 to present day? Through my research, I have decided to argue intense devotion to religious groups leads to adverse social outcomes due to members' negative behavior. What is this negative behavior and how is it caused? In my presentation, I will first cover groupthink and how reliance on a community can negatively shift your behavior. Secondly, charismatic leadership and how devotion to a leader can cause you to become reliant on their group and lose sight of ethics. Lastly, societal conflicts and how these groups have negatively infused society. Groupthink can be defined in many ways, but for the purpose of this presentation, I will define it as a process in which individuals place the priorities of the groups over themselves. The idea of groupthink suggests that in order to feel welcomed into a sector of society, you must align your thoughts and values with your peers and those around you. Eventually, these become your only values and become your lifeline to community. The unquestioned beliefs lead members to ignore potential dilemmas and overlook consequences of actions made by the members of the group or individuals. The idea continues with the notion that members of these religious groups feel power in numbers. Ronald Sims states, groupthink occurs in organizations that knowingly commit unethical acts when the group is cohesive. A leader promotes solutions or ideas even if they are unethical and the group has no internal rules or control mechanisms to continually prescribe ethical behavior. This further suggests that the affinity for the group and the security within it drives members to potentially act out in unruly ways and face moral ambiguity. It is said in the provided stimulus, moral courage, and intelligent disobedience, society and culture place a large amount of pressure on people to obey orders. It starts with children as they are taught to obey their parents and other adults such as teachers or people in uniform like policemen or firemen. This displays how from childhood we have a strong reliance on those in authority. We're expected to follow their ways of life and abide by their expectations. As we grow older and develop our own autonomy, we start to rely on those that align with more of our beliefs and values. This is how individuals find these particular groups with leaders they feel trust in. Charismatic leaders hold the power to keep these groups together. Charismatic leaders have the ability to captivate an audience, influence individuals, and offer them a sense of fulfillment. They allure their followers into believing whatever they want, and this power often results in the creation of cults or strongly devoted religious groups. Susanna Crockford states that a cult stands for more than simply the delivery mechanism. It stands for the poisoning of the mind by another, how the authority of a few can take over and dictate the terms of life and death to the many. When group members are so devoted to the group and leader, they become easily molded and brainwashed into believing and doing anything as long as it means they remain part of the group, even if it is harmful to wider society. Another major tactic charismatic leaders use is isolation from society. Sociologist Doyle Johnson mentions that charismatic leaders will convince their followers that the outside world is a hostile environment, and that to have satisfaction about one's life and promise success, they must remain in the community for they cannot survive in wider society. Not only does this trap members into the belief system of the leader, but it also isolates them from the rest of society, including family, and makes them solely rely on the leader to function. This can often lead members to act out in ways that they normally wouldn't do on their own. It is statistically proven by Robert Perrin that most cult members are those in search of religious acceptance after a state of tension, confusion, frustration, or stress. Once these high emotions and states of distress are validated by the leader, these groups and members have a tendency to depend on the leader and have a high devotion towards them. Although extreme devotion to religion can often lead to negative outcomes, not all forms of dedication within these contexts are inherently bad. An example of peaceful devotion to religion is within the Mormon community. As you can see in this infographic, Some of their typical values are not watching rated R movies, not drinking coffee and tea, spending regular family home evenings, working to help the poor, and believing Joseph Smith saw God the Father in Jesus Christ. As you can see, none of these values are inherently negative to society or cause harm upon them. Frankly, they can be quite beneficial to society as they tend to work with the poor and spread community outreach events to spread their religion. Although there are these highly devoted religious groups that don't harm society, there is still evident proof of religious groups causing discrepancies within society. This chart displays Oregonian views on an invasive group of Rajneeshi, who came into Oregon and infused their education systems, church systems, and just their ways of life, and expected the Oregonians to follow this way of life. Some describe the group as a cancer that has spread beyond control in the state. The Rajneeshis' unwavering devotion to their beliefs and systems caused for dispute in the area and brought unwanted change. This graph displays that 80% agreed the Rajneeshi are a cult, 69% agreed that the Rajneeshi are brainwashed, and 75% agree that the Rajneeshi are outsiders. As you can see, there was a conflict in the area due to the Rajneeshis' intense devotion to their religion. Through my research, I have found that groupthink and charismatic leaders are leading factors to encouraging members to commit acts that are negative to society. Through unwavering devotion and commitment to specific religious groups, harm and conflict has been ignited in Western America. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I do have two questions for you, Grayson. First up, what evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and then why did you choose not to use it?
I gathered more information on groupthink and how the psychic comfort of being in groups negatively affects the members, but it was too much to explain in my presentation due to time restraints.
Okay, and if you had more time, what additional research would you have conducted?
I wanted to find more information on specific cults in Western America. It was hard to find reliable sources on these because